Doing the Lupit Poll Instagram interviews again today. We are with Jeni Janover, who I'm super excited to chat with. She is the founder and creator of Liquid Motion. And we have a lot to talk about. There's actually some really cool things coming up for Jeni right now. She has her amazing Liquid Motion programs that are starting to branch out and do amazing things. And she's been a part of the community for such a while now. So bringing her on, can't wait to chat. And here she is. If you have any questions for Jeni, definitely type them into the chat. Hi, how's it going?
Hi.
I love it. You're in your studio. Are you
Yes.
This morning? I love it.
Yes, it is 82 degrees here in Connecticut. It's supposed to be like, I feel this time last year, let's see, tomorrow's election day. So this time 2 years ago, it was snowing. And now it's 82 degrees.
Strange.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, you guys are having like this last little summer push and we're like moving into fall. That's so weird.
Yeah, it's very strange. But I mean, it's great. It's just really hot. I'm like, how am I going to teach class tonight?
I actually really love that humidity. We don't have that over here in California. It's just like dry desert weather. So
Yep. Yeah. I need like a dirty pole.
Yeah, exactly. East Coast has that perfect pole weather. That's
Yes.
what I think. That just like that dewy, sweaty, delicious stickiness, you know?
It is. Yes. It is always, it's like I tack all the time.
Yes. I'm on the wrong coast. Yes. So tell me, we wanted to chat about some things today. There's some things that you wanted to highlight. You obviously have like a big project that is coming out. Let's go back and talk about just like your foray into the pole world and what began the inspiration for Liquid Motion.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it started back in 2010, I think, I don't know. I had taken a pole class with a friend, and it was really fun. I feel like this is like the story. It's like everybody's story, right? I went with a friend, and I fell in love with it, and it like changed my life, and the whole thing. But what I really connected with was the floor work element of it. That spoke to me. But what I didn't per se enjoy was that I didn't really like the way that the floor work was being presented. It was, this was way back in I like to refer to pole years as dog years. So every one pole year is like 10 actual years, right? Yeah. So it is like we're like 100 years old. Just great. Makes more sense. But I was yearning for a very technical approach. And it's kind of interesting because when I started it to where I am now, and I look back, it makes a lot of sense why Liquid Motion developed the way it did. At the time, it was just kind of organically happening. But there wasn't any floor work programs at all out there. There were people that were doing floor work for sure. Really awesome floor work, Aletheia, like great floor work, but it wasn't like a whole thing the way it is now. So I thought, all right, I'm just gonna, start writing this. I had a dance background, a figure skating background. And so, and I also, this is what I was kind of getting to. I didn't realize at the time, but I'm very dyslexic. I have ADHD, ADD, I'm OCD. I'm like every acronym you can imagine. And growing up, it was really difficult. But one of the things, I was really lucky that the schools that I went to taught me how I needed to learn. And it taught me that I wasn't any less intelligent than anybody else, but I needed to approach it from a different way. So kind of the way that, most people read and write, and they learn kind of a very conventional way to do it, and they all learn it the same way. That way didn't work for me at all. And I kind of kept, tripping and falling down, so to speak, and was really struggling in school. And it wasn't until I started to learn how I needed to learn that things started to change. So I started writing Liquid Motion, jump ahead, just kind of the way that I was taught to write things. And you jump ahead now, 12 or 13 years later, and it has become really, I feel, a way for people who don't have a movement background to learn how to move, and for people who do have a movement background to understand how to communicate with people who don't. And it really wasn't until this last manual that I just wrote that I realized, wait a second, like I am kind of like, it's like a really interesting parallel. So the general public, or civilians as I like to call them, you know, they're not natural movers. They don't speak that movement language. And that is something that I do. And because of my learning disabilities, I also realized that I had a way to speak that language to people that don't understand it, the same way that I was taught to understand regular language the way most people understand it. And it really, that I would love to be like, oh, I was, you know, so much foresight, like, no. It was just, when I look back, that is, I think what, oh, hold on. We're gonna go over here to ground zero. Got some cameras and things. I want to turn this off because this is making noise. So basically, it just started with the first manual, 1.0, and it was just this idea of teaching floor work, but also teaching sensual movement, but in a non-sexualized way. And I think that, you know, the industry, as you know, you've been in the industry for much longer than I have, has gone through a lot of kind of twists and turns and different phases, kind of very similar. If you go back and look at our history, you know, there's always a reactionary movement that's a reaction to another movement, right? So, you know, we have the sport, and then the sexy, and then the contemporary, and, you know, now we're back in the sexy, and probably in 2 years we'll be back in contemporary, and it'll just kind of keep, you know, doing its thing. But I did feel that it was important for people to understand that sensual movement and sexual movement are not the same thing. And that sensual movement is understanding how to use your senses, and that when you use all of your senses, you have this heightened sense of awareness. And when you have this heightened sense of awareness, you have this body awareness and this, you know, proprioception that is like on steroids almost, you know, and that the result is this kind of ooey gooey, organic, I think is a really nice word that kind of, to me, parallels what our sensual movement, like you want to touch it, like it's very tactile, it's soft, it draws you in. And I wanted people to understand that you can create sensual movement, and that doesn't mean it has to be sexual or erotic. It can be, but that the two don't necessarily go hand in hand. And then also just taking basic kinesiology and biomechanics and working with how the body is supposed to move rather than how we want it to move. And that really is like, there is no elevator pitch for liquid motion. People are like, what is liquid motion? And I'm like, oh, how much time do you have? But that was what started the whole thing, really. And I didn't compete. I didn't perform. So, you know, I still, even like when you asked me to do this interview and I was like looking at all the people that were interviewed, I was like, really? Like me? Like, I still feel very green in the industry. And always very, I know people are like, what? But I do. So yeah, and you know, it's evolved. And I think the thing that really made it stand out, yes, the content, but the fact that it was accessible to everybody at every level, even really advanced movers who can do all this stuff, right? You know, sometimes if you're, you know, born a dancer, born a skater, it's you don't even know what you're doing, right? You're just doing it, yes. And it's hard sometimes to have that language to say, okay, you know, just because this becomes natural to me may not be natural to you. And so it just kind of evolved.
It's important because, I mean, the work that you do is so important because it's you know, it's really, it's wonderful that people, you know, these polars, these floor workers can do what they can do, but can they teach it? Can they break it down in a way that it is accessible to someone who doesn't have a movement background? And
Right.
what about that? It's like that's just that such deliciously nerdy foray into understanding how people learn. And you know, it's like the business, you know, that we're in is breaking down how much can you break down this this into these bite-sized pieces that are
Yeah.
very tangible,
Yeah.
right? It's not like good luck, hope it looks good, you know.
Right.
Like
Right.
do me, good luck. No,
Right.
but like, what are the pieces and parts if we were to dissect this? And you know, and that, you know, for, you know, for instance, like with me with performing, it's like it's almost one of my biggest pet peeves when people are like, she needs more presence, or dance better, stronger, faster, harder. And I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, presence, what the hell are you talking about?
Yes.
You
It's like saying to somebody, this food needs to taste better, right? But
right,
you're like, okay, salty, sweet, like, what do you mean? Like, what?
right.
Yes.
That's not a criticism. Like, that's not a useful piece of criticism. You need more presence.
Yeah.
Have better stage presence. Where is the emotion? I'm like, you guys are killing me with these comments. Like, this is not, like, this is not specific enough.
Yes.
We
Yes.
break really like nerdy bite-sized pieces that everyone can understand. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's so great because it's like people like you are out there doing that so that we bring people into, you know, our world, and they can feel good and successful at it.
Yes.
Because if you do this and this order, like, you will actually achieve the quality of movement you're looking for.
Yeah. Yes. And I think, you know, that's, it's such a valid point, Sergia, because I know in our 1.0 manual, in the introduction, we talk about how, like, one of the most common things that we hear, especially in sensual, and I use that word because it is kind of, the word unfortunately is really watered down to the point where it doesn't really mean anything anymore. But you know, when you have these classes and you hear the students, well, you know, it doesn't look like that when I do it. Well, that's because this is something that can't be copied. It has to be understood internally in the body. And I think it's also really important. I know for me, I try to be aware of every person that's out there. And I think it's important that, you know, there are people out there who don't need that. And that's not that, you know, that doesn't mean that the people teaching it, who aren't teaching it this way, are bad teachers. It just means there's a different demographic there. Exactly. And I think that, you know, sometimes as an industry, we forget that, like, a lot of these people that are teaching with the intent that the people coming to that class or that event, they have an acro background, they have a gymnastics background, they have an inversion background, right? So when they say just do this, it's because they're under the assumption that those grouping of people can. And I think that it's something recently that people would ask me about, because they say, oh, well, I took this and it was this. And I say, well, you know what, wait a second, hold on. Like, you know, did you, instead of, you know, attacking the instructor, right? Did you reach out and did you find out, like, what the content was? And, you know, did you need to have that pre-existing knowledge? You know, I think something that, you know, I've been dying to talk to you about with, you know, beginner dancers, have a voice for yourself. Like, talk to your teachers. Tell them, you know, I don't know this. I don't know. You say, what's a hamstring? I don't know. Is this a hamstring? Like, you know, like we can only read so much. And I think that in our certifications, that's one of the things that we talk about to people that do want to teach is, it is so much more than teaching. You have to read people. You have to make them feel comfortable. You have to pull out this you know, this fear of, you know, I can't say anything, because we can figure it out on our own. But what I always like to say in my classes and in certifications is, this is a movement class and this is a movement theory class. It's 50% body, 50% brain. And if you give me this and this, we will get here so much faster. but if you make me guess,
Yeah,
right? And I think that, you know, as an industry, that's something that I keep trying to kind of arm students with is, you know, be a voice for yourself and ask questions and, you know, reach out to the instructor before the class and say, hey, I want to introduce myself. And, you know, God forbid if that instructor, you know, ignores you, then maybe be like, I don't know if that's the right place for me, you know. And I think that we're also the only industry that I know that has started as adults. You know, ballet kids, gymnastics kids, figure skating kids. I don't know what the rhythmic gymnastics kids, right? And then you have pole aerialists coming in, unless you're circus, I think. We already have 20 some odd years of shit in our body that we're bringing to the table, right? And then we're like, all right, cool. I want to do what that person is doing. And it's like, ah.
Yeah, I love that you talking about advocating for yourself at all levels, like especially beginners. Like, yeah, if you like, yeah, first of all, asking the questions like, is this the space for me? Sure, I want to dance like this person, I want to look like this person,
Right.
but yeah, do I have the prerequisites in here to even be in space and to be successful?
Right.
Or is there a place for me? Maybe there's a better class, you know, maybe it's with that teacher, but in a different class, you know?
Right.
And advocating for yourself as a beginner, like when a teacher says something like, you know, oh, tendu the foot or engage your back, like raise your hand.
Yeah.
And be like, what the heck does that mean?
Yes.
What does engage your back mean? Like,
I'm like, where are the people watching? Where are the clapping emojis? Isn't there like a clap emoji? Like, I want to see the clap emoji.
yeah, like if you don't know, if you're like, I can't put together when you say engage your back, I can't put that together with like what I'm
right.
even ask of my body. What does
right.
that mean? Oh, right. Okay, let's feel our shoulder blades. Where are they? Feel them coming down your back.
Right.
Exhale while you know what I mean? Like,
right.
So that it's, yes, there are no stupid questions. There are no dumb questions. You are paying this instructor to impart their knowledge. Yeah. Like, gotta clap. We got.
I know. There we go. We got one.
Yeah, like you're paying that instructor. They are there to serve you. Yeah. And even if you're a beginner and you're like, I don't really know what engage your back means. Like, I'm not putting it together. Like, please force them to do their job.
Yes. And I think too, you know, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay for the instructor. Like, if they don't know, say you don't know. Like, I'm gonna get back to you. You know, like I think one of the things that when I was kind of chatting with you pre-interview, that I really loved about the symposium that you're doing that you've asked me to be a part of, is it's so much about educating the people coming into it, with really all the different facets. You know, when Pole made that commercial transition, because it's been around for obviously ever, but when it made that commercial transition, you know, it was new in the sense that there weren't all these kind of like spin-offs. You know, there wasn't low flow, and I mean, if there were, it wasn't in the public vocabulary, right? It was, you know, a small grouping of things. And now, you know, you have low flow, you have exotic, you have, I mean, I can't keep up with all of them because it would give me an anxiety attack. But I think if people can kind of take a step back and look at it like the visual arts, okay? So I'm a painter. Okay, great. What kind of painter? Oh, I paint in watercolors, but I don't know anything about oils. That's okay. You're a master watercolor painter? I'm a master watercolor painter. Okay, well, I want to learn about oil painting. Okay, well, I'm definitely not the person that you need to talk to. Then you should go over here, right? And I think that if we can start to do that as an industry and say, you know, pole dancing now has become this umbrella term that has all these different things in it, and there is no one instructor that is a master of everything. We can really legitimize what it is that we're doing, and let people know that there is there's a part of pole that can be kind of fun and like, you know, put on the outfits and go to the bachelorette party. But then there's this other part where, okay, like maybe now you've realized it's more than a hobby, and it's kind of, you know, maybe you've quit smoking, or you've cut down on drinking, or you're going to bed earlier because you're like, this is a lifestyle. And I feel like those are the people, you know, that I want to, like, you know, sink my hands into them and be like, you are going to change this industry. Like, right? Because we want to get them to understand how complex this is. And I kind of got off on a tangent because I just I get excited because I'm constantly sending people to other instructors, and my team is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't do that. So like, you kind of do edge work, and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? Like, there's like 3 people that I can think of, like literally before I blink my eye, that do such better edge work. Like, I can give you some intro stuff, you know, but if you want to master that edge work, I am not your gal.
Yeah. I love that. I always say, like, first of all, like, pole dance is not a style, which is really interesting because you look at ballet, jazz, modern, contemporary, ballroom, like, these are styles of dance, and they are things that have like these major through lines to them. Pole, what is the definition of pole? The definition of pole dance is that you're using that vertical bar. Like, so what you do with it from there is really, it's not a style. It's actually just your apparatus.
Yeah.
Two, with something that is so diverse, like you're saying, yeah, when people come to me and they say, I want to do this, I want to do that, I'm like, oh, you know, who's your girl? Your girl, you know, like, go check out this person or whatever. And what I also say to beginner students is, once they've gotten in to, once I've like given them just some of those basic movement tools, like those very basic building blocks, when they start to, I say, it's going to be really exciting because you're going to start forming opinions. And when you start forming opinions about what you like and what you don't like, I know it's like, welcome to being an intermediate dancer.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
you have arrived. This is so great. You're starting to look and be like, ooh, I love that low flow thing. Like, I could get down with that. Like, who should I be following to get down with that? Or, ooh, I'm really starting to gravitate towards this, like, you know, this major acrobatic style. And I'm like, oh my gosh, welcome to me dancer, because now you're forming opinions about what you like and what you don't like. And that is a very exciting moment. Like that is like, oh my God, I'm so excited. You are finding what turns you on. And now, like, and you know, we have this in the regular dance world too, where it's like, you know, you just don't go, you know, when you start to get to a certain place, you know, like as a dancer, you don't just go and like train. You just don't go like take a ballet class. You're like, or, you know, a contemporary class. You kind of go, who do I want to take from now? Who do I go follow and be in their class like every week? Who, you know, where do I need to go? It's not just like, okay, all these ballet classes are the same. It's like, oh, but you know who I really want to train with and who I really want to move forward with is this person or that person, this person. And like I say, there is no judgment on any of that. It's just what your heart and your instincts are desiring and wanting to put together. It's not like, oh, that is bad. That's actually the case. That teacher is excellent for those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to find out like who is going to be, you know, and that can change, right? You can be going with that person for a while and being like, you know what, I'm starting to dig on this stuff over here, and I'm going to take a break and start to work with this other teacher. And yeah, it is really interesting, Jenny, because it's like, as well as like, I've been a studio owner for so long, and people always get really confused when I'm like, go check out those other studios, you know, like, go check out this person, go check out that person. When you go travel that place, like, go take that class, like some other classes. And they're like, but I don't want to leave you. And I'm like, no, you really do. You need to go take other people's classes, because you need to start to form an opinion of what is, you know, you like and what's good for you and what you know what I mean? So I think that, and if we, you know, that's just so great. If like the more instructors and studio owners we have that are encouraging these people to grow their wings and form opinions about where they're training next. Like, yes. There's so much offered out there. There's so much to learn.
There is, and you could learn, I don't mean like you, like the collective you, right? But, and you know, I'm sure that you've seen, people get, when they first start teaching, one of the things that we talk about in our trainings also is kind of like how to be a really excellent instructor. What does that really look like? What kind of sacrifices do you have to make? What kind of sacrifices should you make? What kind of sacrifices do you want to make? And, it's okay if you decide, maybe I don't want to teach this. Like, but this, like, I kind of lost my train of thought for a second, but I don't know, kind of this idea of understanding that I could teach, to say, like, a forward shoulder roll, and I could put a video about a forward shoulder roll somewhere, and I could do a YouTube thing about a forward shoulder roll, and I could teach 100 people forward shoulder rolls. That moment that I am giving the information, that moment can never be replicated. So people shouldn't kind of hold things so close to them that it's like, this is my thing. Well, even if it is your thing, the experience of having it with that person at that moment, coming out of their mouth, there is no substitution for that.
Totally.
And I like
in a headspace for it too. That day, that they, like, whatever they're going, their heart and their body is open to receive.
Yeah. So it's just we are, like, I just feel like the industry, and I know I kind of got off on a tangent, it's just like at such a turning point right now. And I think part of that is because, and I feel like if my cert manager was sitting here, she'd be like throwing things at me, like, shut up. But I feel like one of the benefits from the pandemic was it kind of, like, I'm gonna get, like, hit by lightning right now. Yes, everyone got to take classes with everybody, but what it really did, in my opinion, was it blew the lid off of who can really teach. And it held a standard where it was like, wait a second, I just took a class with whoever, and that was fucking amazing. Why aren't my classes? Like, it made everybody all of a sudden be real fucking responsible, because now everybody was on the same playing field, right? And I for me, at least, when I think, like, if you put on Instagram right now, maybe it's because my phone, listens to me or whatever, I'm constantly getting assaulted with, PT stuff, physio stuff, shoulder stuff, back stuff. And I'm like, all right, that's because I just spent the last 2.5 years writing this manual. So it's listening to what I'm saying. But I also think it's because now people are seeing how much information is out there, and they're like, whoa, wait a second. There's more to it than I realized. And so now people are asking questions because they got a glimmer of something that maybe wasn't accessible to them. I mean, for me, I was, they say, like, being in the right place at the right time. Well, I was in New York City in 2012 with the best pole dancers that I could imagine. So Stephen Ratcliffe, Kira Johannesson, Michelle Stanek, Marlo Fiskin. I mean, fuck, right? Like, if you could pick 4 people to kind of mold you, like, thank you, God, for planting me in New York at that time. Now, those amazing instructors, which are all over the world, are now accessible to everybody, right? So when you are exposed to that awesomeness, and you're like, wait a second, that's great teaching, then all the other teachers have a decision to make, and it's totally fine. They can either step up to the plate and be like, I'm going to be a better teacher, or they're going to say, maybe I shouldn't be teaching. Which, by the way, teachers out there are times where I'm like, do I really do this? It's fucking hard. So I think, that is the beauty of what happened with the pandemic, is that people had access to so much information that it made everybody be more responsible.
I was going to say that was the exact word. More responsible for their experience.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, I was actually having this conversation where, it's just like you were saying, you have a student that, was taking it one place and then moved to a different place, moved to a new studio, and they're saying, oh, I'm being asked to, like, train new things. I feel comfortable with it and whatever. And I'm like, well, that's what you need to do, is just need to be in a place where you're listening to yourself, not anyone
Yes.
else, and say like, do I feel safe moving into this right now? Like just checking in with
Yes.
yourself. And if you don't, hitting for yourself and be like, you know what? I don't know if I'm ready to do that yet, but will you spot me in a butterfly instead today? Like,
Right.
you have like the teachers are there to serve you. They're not going to take that and like, oh, how dare you ask to work, not twisted grip
Right.
in my class, like work a butterfly
Right.
today. Like,
Right.
but for them to be like, yes, like totally, thank you for advocating for yourself. Like, it's actually really funny because I'm in toddler land right now because I have a 3-year-old. So it's like the same thing that we ask our toddlers, right? The script. Does your body feel safe right now? Like,
Yes.
you're not supposed to say, be careful. Oh God, careful. Don't step on that. You're supposed to say, you're high in the air. Your body feel about that? Does your body feel safe? Like, not like, oh shit, get down from there. No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the
Yes.
same thing. Like, we're trying to like do that as adults, is like, we want to give these beginners, don't ask me, like, take a breath, step
Yeah.
back, and yourself, and anytime someone in my class says, ooh, that feels a little wonky and scary, and I'm like, okay, good, body's saying something, it's asking you to do something, let's back it up, let's
Yeah.
work on this instead. Let's see how you feel in this position, let's see how you feel in that position, right? And it's never like, no, push through, do it. Like, whoa,
Yeah.
we actually need to, part of being a teacher is helping people understand how to listen to themselves.
Yep. And so, what a great segue. So one of the things, one of the largest sections, I don't know where it is because, like I said, this just got published, is so basically, we have the pole cert, and so the pole cert is taking the concepts and ideas of the level 1 floorwork certification, which we have really tried in our marketing to make people understand that it is not like a list of moves. These moves are more of a conduit for ideas and theories and techniques, right? And we still are struggling with how to kind of make people kind of understand that. So hopefully this is doing that. But one of the first sections in the pole manual is trust your training. Like, you took all of this time to get liquid motion certified in 1.0 to understand movement on the floor where we feel it's safer. And if you actually go back and really look at what we taught you, everything you need to know is already there. We're just teaching you how to recognize it on a different apparatus. And because, movement is movement. So yeah, trusting that your body is like, knows what's up. Your body's like, oh, like, okay, well, trust your body.
Yeah.
Like, maybe come down.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I love that. That's so cool. Yeah. So tell me how people, well, also I want to mention, Jeni and I have she mentioned it earlier, a very exciting thing coming up that we have going. So make sure to watch our pages come February.
Yes.
We are going to be part of the Beginner Pole Dancer Summit, virtual summit. Like, it's just, oh my God. Jeni and we've been talking about it a lot. Yeah. Getting just like super ridiculously nerdy over it. And
yeah.
I love it. It's going to be just an amazing, like, everyone that I want every beginner to ever learn from. It's like, please listen to this. Please listen.
Awesome. Yeah.
So we have that. Then also, Jeni, like, this is all super exciting, super new, because you just dropped your new program. Tell me.
Yeah. So we just dropped, I don't know if you can see the size of this manual. It's insane. We just dropped our liquid pole certification. We had our first actual training, our 3-day training, was October 15th, and it was amazing. It is definitely, so you have to take the 1.0, this is Brandon's manual, the 1.0 training first. It builds off of that, but basically, in a nutshell, liquid motion is 5 fundamentals and 5 techniques that are across all types of movement, whether it's dance or martial arts, just the way that your body moves in general. And learning to understand how your body moves efficiently. And so again, this was kind of like, and I'm looking at like my notes here, kind of going back to what we were talking about in the beginning about kind of knowing how you learn, or knowing that maybe you are struggling when you're learning something, I think is a really important thing. And I just want to pre-say that in no way am I saying that people have done it wrong up until this point. But I do think that there can be other approaches. And so for me, when the pandemic struck, I had 7 feet of pole and I was a chicken shit. I didn't want to try anything new. I didn't want to trust my life partner to spot me because God forbid he dropped me. That'd be the end of that relationship. So I was kind of stuck with what I had. And what I started to realize was that my body was finding new ways to do kind of the old favorites, and that they were working so much better for me.
Good.
Because of my dance and figure skating background, I'm very lower body dominant. And I've always struggled with upper body. Like I was the kid, this is like so embarrassing, but I could never do the monkey bars, you know? And so I would, you know, go to the playground with my friends in school and like they would all do it. And I would go and I would fall every time, to the point where I would sneak out of my house at night to the playground to try to practice because I was so bad. And I realized, okay, I could, you know, really try to overhaul all of this, or I could look for maybe a different approach. And that was kind of really how this training started. It is, again, a very, very in-depth look at pole dancing using really your whole body. And also the idea of, instead of learning a skill in like an intro class or a level 1 class and then like never visiting that skill again, because the idea of let's learn something that we're going to actually carry us through. So this idea, the training is really, we say like what you learn on day 1, you're going to still use on day 100, day 1000, 10 years from now. It just might be in a different capacity. And it's designed really, in my opinion, for the majority of the public who don't have a movement background, don't have an athletic background, aren't coming to the table with some sort of pre-existing strength building, whether it's cheerleading or whatever. And it gives people, like, one of the biggest things that I'm really proud of in this, and I had a lot of help. There were 10 different people working on this manual together, but every move has these diagrams. And so these are what we call the primary muscles. And so the idea with this primary muscle is, yes, we're going to give you the name of the muscle in the back of the book, you know, the technical, what it does, but we want you to be aware of a feeling maybe here, you know, and your serratus, like maybe it's not your lat, or we want you to feel something under your shoulder blades. And so that's going to be, this isn't a good example because there's no rhomboids in this one. Here we go. So like this one, here we go. So like this one, you have, you know, your rhomboids, your erector spinae, like, do you need to know those terms? Probably not right now, but do you need to have some feeling? Do you need to visualize this part of your back? Yes, right? So, and that, I feel, for me, was something that was never, like you said in the beginning, it was like, engage your back. Well, okay, there's a gazillion different muscles in there. Like, and it wasn't until nobody, you know, I don't have a background in physical therapy. I don't have a background in kinesiology. I don't have a background in biomechanics. So I didn't know that there was, like, you know, there were all of these superficial muscles that were actually the bigger ones. Because even to me, even that verbiage is like, what? The bigger muscles are superficial? Huh? Like that, you know? And so I'm like, if that confuses me and I'm studying this, like, that must really confuse the general public. And really just giving people a look into, and I joke, and it's one of the first lines in the book, is that we don't pole dance with our arms, we pole dance with our back. And then we pole dance with our legs. And then maybe we'll bring the arms into the, and so this whole training, there's like 57 moves, almost 300 pages. There's no spins. We don't teach any spins. We teach a dip turn, and we teach something called a drag spin, because we focus on really trying to create an awareness through the stabilizer muscles in the body while your humerus bone is close into the body. So that is an easier place. The brain can fire those muscles a lot easier when the arm is close to the body or in front of the body.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we are trying to show people, like, there's 300 pages of content that you can do and never extend your arm out to the side. You can learn inversions on the floor without even using the pole while you build that strength, so that when it is time for you to go upside down, you actually know what to do when you get there. And it is definitely a slower approach, for sure. You know, it is not for everybody. But, you know, I'm going to be 50 in less than a year, which is insane to me. I'm like, what? 50? And my body doesn't do what it did 12 years ago, let alone when it was 25. And I think, you know, that was the other thing that I wrote down on my thing here. You know, pole dance, like you said, pole dance, it is not a one size fits all. And I feel like what drove me to write this was that up until really the last, I want to say, year, I feel that the industry has been very one size fits all, that there hasn't been a whole lot of ways to learn pole that, you know, didn't require a huge focus on the upper body. And so, yeah, that's really kind of, you know, what it's about. And the training, it's 3 days. Right now, the people who took it, I remember their biggest, because once you sign up, if you sign up for the training, any of our trainings, by the way, you automatically get access to our on-demand library where there's hundreds of videos. You immediately get access to your electronic manual while we send you the real one. So there's a lot of pre-work involved, virtual interactive lessons that, you know, we have people doing to kind of get them ready. And really, one of the greatest components is getting to know you section, where it's kind of like we want to talk to people and get to know them before they come into the training. And everybody was like, how am I going to pole dance for 3 days and not get injured? How am I going to pole dance for 3 days and not get injured? Well, for starters, you're going to do your pre-work. So you're going to start with these real basic PT exercises that are boring as fuck, but you're going to start them 2 months ahead of time. Yeah. And we are going to be safe, and we are going to introduce you to your body in a way where you are going to know how to listen to it. And the analogy that we give is kind of like, so like, let's say you went and bought like a brand new Ferrari, right? You're driving your Ferrari. You hear one fucking clink in that engine and you're like, "Arr!" Like right into the mechanic, right? Like, what the fuck is wrong with my $1 million car? Us, right? We have the clinks and the crinks and the things and the that, and we're like, no, I'm going to drive this thing until the fucking wheel falls off. Like, why does our car get better service than our phone, or right? Like, something's wrong with your phone. You're like, oh my God, I need to fix my phone. But, you know, I can't lift my arm, but I'm still going to go to pole class.
So
yeah,
much.
it's so a big part of the training too is kind of like giving some tough love, and being like, you know, and we say in the description, you know, this isn't for beginners. And I think your description of what you describe is like, you know, you're not a beginner dancer anymore, is when you start to make these decisions for yourself. And I think that that's a great, actually like that better than what we had in our description. But in our description, we kind of have, you know, what we had talked about, which is you've realized it's a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And I feel like once you've made that decision, then you are ready for this training, because it's hard and you're gonna fail. You're gonna be defeated. Your body is gonna give out on you. And I just wish somebody had told me that coming into pole. Like, you're going to get injured. You're going to need recovery. You're going to need to balance your body. You're going to need to spend as much time conditioning the opposite of what it is that you're actually doing so that you don't fall apart. Like, I just wish somebody had told me that, because for years I felt kind of like an asshole, because I was like, I'm getting injured all the time. You know, I look like a mosaic of KT tape. Like, what is this? You know, and so it's just like a different approach. And I think that, you know, from a business standpoint, and again, this is going to be my certain manager being like Jeni, but from a business standpoint, there's a lot more people out there who are civilians who need really step-by-step careful instruction than there are competitive world champions.
Oh, yeah.
And that doesn't make, like, to me, a world champion, a master instructor like yourself, a beginner student, no, none of them are more important than the other, because without all of those facets, we have no industry. You know, and I think that one of the reasons you and I hit it off is because we realized, like, it's up to us, right? If we want this industry to succeed, we need to get into these people from day one,
right,
and make them understand.
Yeah, you don't want to have beginners coming into pole and having a few things happen. Like, baby beginner comes to pole, automatically feeling out of place, automatically feeling that they can't do it. Oh, I tried pole dancing, it was too hard. Like, every time I hear that, I'm like, oh, my heart. Like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, no,
Right.
not too hard. No,
Yes.
let's, you know, let's learn this dip turn. Like, it's not too hard. Like,
Yep.
did someone tell you to invert? Because yeah, that's hard. Calm down. Like, that's not pole dancing. I mean, that's
Right.
all pole dancing, but there's more, right? Or yeah, I tried pole dancing and I got hurt right away. It's like, oh gosh, people, we have to do better here, you know?
Yeah.
We have to do better at ushering people into our passion and sharing this with people, you know? We don't want it to just be one of those things where it's just like, people try it, they fail, they have bad taste in their mouth, and then every time they look at pole dancers, they're like, whatever, you know, like, it was too hard, it sucked, I got hurt, you know. Oh, like, that's not, you know, it's like, yeah, like, I same way. It's like, as I'm getting older, it's like, no, we need to usher these people and nurture these people into our worlds, and have them be 80% successful at everything that is taught on their like, that's what I tell, you know, when I'm just training my beginner, like my teachers at the studio who teach the baby beginners, I'm like, this is the idea. Here is the syllabus. This is what we're teaching. And if you need to reroute this class, then you need to reroute this class, because I need these beginners to walk out being 80 to 90% to 100% successful at everything that was taught that day. So whatever it is that you need to do to dial it back to make that happen and that experience happen for those people who are coming in for the first time, that's what you do. I don't care if you don't get to this, and this in the syllabus. Like, yes, they'll make it through there eventually, but you know what I mean? Like, we need to usher people into this where they're having wins, and not people with dance backgrounds. You know, like,
well, and Sergia, do you and it's so funny because I feel like we could like literally like interview each other for like the next 3 hours because we're so fucking on the same page. But I'm like, if you ask anyone that's taken it, and I also, like, I'm listening to you talking, I'm like, not that you need a liquid motion training, but like everything you're saying, I'm like, it's in the book. I'm like, she needs to just take it so she can be like, yes, I agree, signing off, you know, little
signing off.
From Sergia approved. But I'm just like, oh my God, like I have this soapbox, I'm gonna get on it. But I know something that you and I briefly spoke about, I don't know where it was, but all right, so the studio owners, this is for you. This is for you. Do not put your green instructors in your intro class. You want your most seasoned teachers. It is worth paying them a little extra to get those students safe and successful and coming back.
That's right. Your master teachers, the ones that you know, like have all the knowledge, those are your 101 teachers.
Yep.
Then put your green teachers on the 103, 104. You know what I mean? And then when they get to 105 and the more advanced, then you bring them back to the master instructor. The master instructor should be the pieces of bread on the side and in the middle. Those are the instructors we should be training, you know?
Yes, like look at the Karate Kid. What was his name? What was the wax on, wax off guy? Miyagi. Yes, you bring your Miyagis, right? Daniel was a horrendous karate guy, remember? And he thought he was all great because he probably was that somewhere. He wasn't getting good instruction. And then, you know, Miyagi, like the master, comes in, and what does he do? He takes this complete newbie and and I also think too, like, and this could be like a whole nother interview that we could discuss, but from an instructor standpoint, I actually think intro is one of the hardest classes to teach because they want you to demo 8 million fucking times. And I'm like, no, I don't need to demo because I am a master trainer and I have the verbal skill set to get you through this without me hurting myself. And because I know usually when right now I have a friend who is teaching an intro class, and she did it for, I don't know, 3 weeks, and all of a sudden I was on her Insta and I was like, bitch, you got KT tape all over your fucking shoulder. Like, how many dip turns did you do? Probably 50. All on the one side because you wanted to look your best. Right? And so I think for teachers too, to save their bodies, like studio owners, arm your instructors with the knowledge to know how to take care of themselves and teach verbally. That was something that I learned from Body and Pole, actually, from Kira, was, you know, the greatest teachers don't need to demo. They can just sit there and speak. And so they were always really, really supportive when we would get injured, and they would give us an assistant if we needed it. But it almost became like a contest, at least for me. I was like, I don't need no fucking assistant. I'm gonna do this without an assistant because I got my mouth.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I think that I hope that studio owners watch this, and if they don't, they're like, who's this Jeni Janover person? They're gonna definitely know who you are. She agrees with me.
Approval.
Yes.
I think we are just right there on all of this. And thank you so much, Jeni. This was so much fun. Everyone, please go check out, where can we find all your info? Link in bio?
So, oh my God. So there's the Liquid Motion. So there's Liquid Motion Instagram, which is Liquid Motion CT for Connecticut, which is where I am. You can go to Jeni Jano is Liquid. That is my personal Instagram. But hopefully we are getting some good Google SEO. And if you type in Liquid Motion, it should come up. But yeah, if you have any questions at all about anything, we have lots of certifications coming up. If you missed our Halloween sale, wink, wink, message me. I will be more than happy to give you the coupon code so that you can apply 25% off. For any of our trainings, we have live in person, we have virtual on demand. So you can see we have all of our cameras, and then we have our overhead cameras, and we got cameras up the wazoo. We have our on-demand option, which is go at your own pace. So you get assigned a personal master trainer, and you, over 3 months, go through the training with this master trainer. So it's like a one-on-one situation, so virtual, in person, on demand. I think that's everything. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Yay, I love it. Well, thank you, Jeni, and definitely check us out. Jeni and I are going to get nerdy with you guys in March, so watch our space for that as well. Go check her out, and have a beautiful week, everyone.
Thank you so much, hon.
Bye.
Bye.